Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. In this video we're going to look at basically persistent volumes and persistent volume claims. So here I'm just like creating a test pod uh, using the Nginx image, and I am actually going to get into this pod using the kube serial execute command. And let me quickly just write something to a file in temp directory. And if you just print the content of this file, it will have the latest, the whatever date that we actually redirected into that file. I'm going to exit, and then now I'm going to delete this pod, and I will be just recreating that pod. So I'm going to recreate the pod the same way and get into the pod, or you don't even have to do that. You can just directly try to print the content of this file. As you might expect, that this file doesn't exist because the pod has been destroyed or deleted and recreated. By default, it doesn't actually persist any data that is written to any file in the local file system. So now I'm gonna go ahead and delete this again because we don't need it anymore. So now actually I want to basically offer one solution for this problem, right? We want to be able to process data because sometimes we run uh, databases inside pods. So we want to actually persist data. That's the point, right? So let's actually just use a simple example. So this is basically like where we are using the host path option, and there is a path attribute and a type directory type attribute. So path is actually pointing to var log. That is basically the var log directory on this particular host. Actually, I'm logged into like an AWS EC2 instance. So this represents that directory. This is actually a pod YAML, right? So we are going to create a pod, and within that pod there is this one container which is going to be based on CentOS image. I'm giving some random name, and it's going to be running some command inside that, inside the container once the container gets spawned. And I am going to actually mount a volume, and I'm just like, this is the name of the volume that I provided over here. I'm going to use the same volume name over here, and then inside the container I want basically this the contents of this host directory to be mapped to this directory or this path basically. So let's actually just go ahead and create this simple pod using this YAML file, and we can use the same exec command that we used before, kubectl exec. And then this time I want to check what's in this file, right? So if I look at the content of this log file, I'm sorry, so the name of the pod is not test pod anymore. It's going to be this, which is pod with volumes. But anyway, the point is actually like, uh, once we created the pod using this command, this pod with name pod with volumes, this command ran, and then it started appending date to this file, and you can see that the date is over here, right? And then as you can see, basically whenever I created this pod before on November 8th, whatever time this is, like all these lines were written, right? So, and that data was retained. So if that's actually confusing, let's not worry about it. I'm going to actually like drop this pod, which is like the same command, delete pod, and the idea is to actually to create the pod again, and just tail the log file. Okay, now the pod is deleted. I'm going to recreate it again using the apply command, and I'm going to run the exec command, which is going to tail the log file. So basically you can see that uh, last time it was basically writing a few lines. I think it wrote a few more lines last time, and then when I ran it this time, it wrote one more line to the same log file, and the data in this log file is being retained because this is in the volume that we mounted. Well, this is actually a good solution, but this will not work in a proper company setting, like in a professional setting, because most of the times um, the developers will not be aware of the file systems on the Kubernetes cluster nodes actually. So what they would actually rather do is actually the topic of this video, which is like to use persistent volumes and persistent volume claims. So how do we do that? So basically you have uh, the kind is going to be a persistent volume, and you can give any name that you want, and you will say like what is the size of this persistent volume. In this case it's 200, and then here the host path is again used, but in this case, like whenever a persistent volume is created, it is created by the cluster admin, not by the developer. So a cluster admin knows like, okay, this is the host path, and this is the path that's available on this EC2 instance, and then the access mode basically is read write once, and there is a bunch of access modes, and if you refer to Kubernetes documentation, you can find what modes are available. So basically this is the YAML file kind of like format, and I'm going to just go ahead and apply this YAML file, and it creates a persistent volume. Now the job of a developer is to first claim the space that he requires. For that, he needs to actually use another YAML file. So this is going to be persistent volume claim. That's the kind, and you can give any name you want, and how much space he needs, and also the access mode that he is interested in, the developer is interested in. At this point, like he hasn't created a pod yet, so I am actually going to go ahead and apply this YAML file. We have created the persistent volume claim. Now you can see that right away this claim was bound to this persistent volume that we had just created, and that's because uh, the volume size was 200 MB, and then the requested size was 50 MB. So this basically Kubernetes control plane will try to find a volume that is actually closely matching with the requested size. If there are no volumes great, whose sizes are greater than or equal to the size requested, then basically this state will be in the status will be pending actually. But in this case, we have sort of like a volume, a persistent volume that can fulfill this request. So that has been bounded to the claim. Now all the developer needs to do is basically create a pod in this way, and he's got to use a pod name, of course. It's a pod kind. He needs that, and basically the container name is my front end, etc. These are not important for us for this topic, but then the main thing is actually, like you can see that in the volumes section, uh, the name of the volume that is given here is PV1. It doesn't have to match the persistent volume name. I've just used that. And then the persistent volume claimed is PVC1. So this is the claim name. And as long as we use this volume over here, so we're mounting this volume to this path inside the container. So I'm going to go ahead and create this pod using the same apply command. I'm just going to see what's in here. Basically it says, oh, okay, I need to replace the pod name. I always forget to do that, and it's okay to make mistakes, because nobody is perfect. Okay, So I see like an index.html file and I want to actually see what's in there. Index.html, and then we can cat it. So this hello world. So if I do a kubectl get pod dash o wide and get the IP of this my pod, because this is a nginx container, so it's going to I'm going to get the hello world HTML page, which is in this particular directory. But the point is not that, if I had to basically like destroy this pod and then recreate it again, the file will still be there. So that's basically the purpose of persistent volumes and persistent volume claims. I hope you found this lesson useful, and please subscribe to my channel and let me know your questions. And if you have comments, let me know that too. I'll see you guys in a different video. Thank you.